Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel Dykes. I am a labor and delivery nurse by day, and I read all the other times of the day. So I have Mabel here with me. Hello. So September was Mabel's birth month. She turned 9 years old. I had a lot of back TBR to read, so not necessarily books that I like all books that I want to read but weren't desperately wanted to read. So maybe not in the most exciting of months, but I feel like I ticked away at the TBR, which was great. I also just dyed my hair and my curls are still kind of hot. So all right. I don't feel like I had a great audiobook listen month. So the audiobooks were kind of off. And to start that off, I listened to Alone with You in the Ether by Ally Blake. So she wrote the Atlas 6, which I feel like was a little overhyped. This one also felt kind of overhyped. I just don't think this is my vibe. So this was like a romance, but very much more like a literary fiction. The writing was beautiful. It just didn't have that much just wasn't that invested in the characters and the plot. So you might love this. You might absolutely love this. The writing was beautiful. I will give you that. it's not necessarily what I'm looking for. I'm looking for more entertainment. So Aldo and Regan fall in love, and they deal with mental illness and all sorts of other things. I honestly couldn't even tell you what happens in this story. I gave it 4 stars. I feel like it really should be a 3 just because of how I connected with it, but I think I just gave it another star because I felt like some of the problems were me. I just was not in a good place for an audiobook at the time. And then I read One Dark Window. I was a little bit nervous to read this because this has been so hyped up on the reels, etc. And as a fantasy girly, I just get a little nervous. This did take a little bit to get into the world building. So our main character is Elspeth. So she she had a fever as a child, this fever that she was supposed to be killed for. So it turns out the fever brings magic. So her family was enough in power that they could hide her. So she's kind of not part of society. And then her, the kingdom that they're in, there are playing cards that give you power. So, and I feel, so that took a little bit to get into the world building of it. But once I was in, I was in. This was 5 stars. I loved it so much. I love the characters. I love the tension and the romance. I love the lore that is coming out of this. So Elspeth, after her fever, she has the ability to have magic, and she has a voice inside of her that says things to her. So I don't want to give away too much, but this was a very good book. I think it's 2, I don't know, there's another one. It's 2 Dark something. So that's the second one, and I'm excited to read it. I'm trying to read other books first, so that's why I haven't read it yet. But very good. I'm hoping that the whole series stays good. And I think right now it's just 2 books. So if you like to binge read, wait, because these are fresh stories. So yeah, highly recommend. It was very good. And there's all sorts of stuff with this Shepherd King and the current king, and lots of shit went down. There used to be magic, and now only certain people have magic, and the fever. There's lots of stuff to find out, which I like when not everything is revealed in the first book, because there's so much more to come, but you're still along for the story. Then I read the book Outlive: The Science and Art of Longevity. So our main character, the author, so Peter Adia, he is a doctor. He went to med school, practiced for a little bit, and then I feel like he ended up doing research for a while, and then came back to more a concierge medicine, because he hates what he calls medicine 2.0. So medicine 2.0 is what we currently live in, where you go see the doctor when you're sick. You often are diagnosed with things when it's really too late to treat them, you think about all the people that you hear with heart disease and stroke and all of these things that we don't try to prevent anything, which is super frustrating as a nurse because I feel like we are wasting so much money. And unless you go out there and really like do your own research, it's just hard to like promote health until it's too late. So this was super interesting. So he talks about what he does with patients. He talks about the 4 horsemen, which I'm going to forget them again. So heart disease, cancer. This is ridiculous. Why can't I ever remember these? Oh, here we go. So heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, and other like memory, and then diabetes. So those are like the things that people most frequently die from. So he kind of breaks them down, talks about ways that you can like prevent them. Like, spoiler alert, it's really exercise is like the number one thing. So he talks a lot about what you should do in order to like be an 80-year-old who can function well. You really need to be a super healthy 40-year-old. So just kind of like working on that like investment in your future. It seems really big, but like the writing's big. I do feel like he writes it at a very, like at a level that you can understand. Like he breaks things down. He does not treat you like you're stupid, but, it's also like not super like above your head. And I feel like even as a nurse, this would not be challenging for other people to read. So yeah, I do recommend this book. The problem I feel like is there's only so much that's like in our power if like our providers aren't going to help us with this. So I guess different things that you could advocate for. And then of course like strength training and other things that you could do for yourself. But I gave this 5 stars because there's nothing wrong with it, just the world. Then I listened to, so this was a recommendation from someone that I went to Honduras with. Shout out to you, Julie. So she was reading The Blonde Identity by Allie Carter while we were in Honduras, and she said it was just fun. Like, it was just a good time, and I would totally agree. So our main character, like, wakes up in Paris. She has no, like, idea who she is. There are people, like, chasing her and shooting her, and she has no idea what's happening. Well, it turns out her twin sister is a spy. So yeah, shenanigans happen. This main character is very fun, funny. There's like a little bit of romance. So if you're just looking for like a fun audiobook, I would say that's a good one. So I gave it 4 stars. It was not a perfect book, but it just had a great time. So there you go. Then I read Red Rising by Pierce Brown. So this is not at all what I thought it was going to be. I did 0 research. I just saw that I feel like this is presented as fantasy. It's not. It's dystopian. So way more like a Hunger Games, Divergent type vibe. So if you love those books, you will probably like this book. I am not as much, like, I loved Hunger Games, like, so much, but it's also very disturbing. And I liked Divergent. Allegiant was kind of a mess, but so Red Rising. So there is reality that was presented to the Reds, and then there is reality. So our main character is, what's his name? Darrow? Yeah. Darrow is a Red. He believes that he is on Mars getting the planet ready for habitation. So they are mining and they're like getting resources, and they are working incredibly hard so that Earth can populate Mars. And that, so yeah, he thinks that they're like out there, like they are pioneers. When unfortunately the Golds, who are more like in power, are already like living on Mars. They're in these huge settlements, and the Reds are basically their slaves that are just giving them the resources they need. So when he finds that out, then he is recruited by like a secret organization to, like, they do different things so that he can infiltrate the Golds. So this book is him like kind of going through his montage and then infiltrating the Golds and becoming part of their like academy. And that is pretty much this book. So then Golden Sun is the second book, so I will hopefully be reading that this month. And yeah, we'll see. I've heard some mixed reviews. So a lot of people love the first 3 books. Like they say like, oh, they're so good, the first 3 books. But then it sounds like it just kind of like there are a bunch more books and maybe they didn't need to have that many. So we'll see. But I did give that one 4 stars. It was good. And then I read The God of the Woods. So I feel like this was kind of like the summer hit. And I did read Long Bright River, which is Liz Moore's other book. And besides like remembering that it was about like a murder investigation and a cop, that's really all I know about it. So it didn't leave a big impression on me. So The God of the Woods had so many things happening. So it was very, like, seeing it all come together in the end was really interesting. This is a very readable, enjoyable book, even though it is very long. I didn't feel like it was a slog or anything. It was just, like, entertaining the whole way through. So this is a camp for children that's basically on, like, this rich people's property. It's been around for, I think, like 100 years. So our camper Barbara goes missing. She's not in her bunk the morning that everyone wakes up for a party. And then we're trying to find her. And 14 years earlier, her brother had also gone missing at this camp. So wondering if the two are tied together, who's all involved. Everyone's got secrets. These people are messy. Like the parents of the child are messy. The grandparents, the people who run the camp. There is a lot going on. The counselors have lots of skeletons in their closet. So everyone's hiding things to try to not be investigated. So we go back and forth to like the 14 years ago, like when the son is going missing and the daughter, and trying to like figure out if they're like tied together at all. I just really enjoyed this book. Very like great summer vibe. I mean, like summer creepy vibes, right? Like it was good. It was just kind of like ominous, but good, like not scary. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I would maybe save it for summer for next year, just because, yeah, like I read it in the fall when it was still really warm, so it still felt appropriate. But this was great. Good mystery. Mabel's snoring in my lap, so I gave it 5 stars. I would highly recommend this, and this was my July book of the month. Normally, I don't read book of the months that quickly. Like I wait like 3 or 4 months after. But I just felt like it had been like such a favorite. Like when that came out, so many people were talking about it. So I thought I should prioritize it. And I wanted to read it in the summer. I read Sense and Sensibility because my buzzword like reading challenge for September was senses, and I couldn't find anything about like vision or like hearing or anything, so I decided to go with Sense and Sensibility. I am a Pride and Prejudice girly. I love Pride and Prejudice. I've read the version and of course like seen the movies so many times, and Keira Knightley is superior. But this one just didn't hit for me. So I can understand, like, it just seems weird to me that, like, Pride and Prejudice is so good, but, like, nobody really talks about Sense and Sensibility. It just feels like a very similar storyline, but with, like, less likable characters and, like, a less exciting plot. So that's really all I have to say about it. I'm sorry. I gave it a 3. Like, it was not bad. It just does not hit like Pride and Prejudice. Mr. Darcy. Then I read the book The Deepest Secret for book club. Let me see if I have a book cover. Yeah. It was fast and readable. I wouldn't recommend it. So I gave it 3 stars. Our main character is Eve. Her son Tyler has a UV allergy, so he is like inside, like things are all locked up. Well, nobody knows that he's just like out running wild all the night long. This book is very much based on like everyone having secrets. So both the kids have secrets. The dad is like flirting with someone. The mom is kind of psychotic. Her whole life is this child. She's put all of her like anxieties on him. It's really awful. Honestly, it feels like child abuse. And just the way that she's like alienated her husband and her daughter, and just being like obsessed with this child living the life that she wants him to live, which is longevity and not quality at all. And I'm not a mom. I'm sure that would be awful and you'd have all sorts of fears, but she's crazy. And then her neighbor has secret, like everyone's got secrets. Then the neighbor's daughter, who is, so Eve's best friend is her neighbor. Her daughter is hit by a car. And there's all sorts of cover-ups and things going on. And guess what? Everything comes out. But it still somehow ends up perfectly. So, I don't know. Just one of those things where, like, the character makes a decision that you're like, okay, so the whole premise of the story is made off of this stupid decision that, like, I just don't see anyone making. So, there's that. Then I listened to Misery. Oh, the cover on this is, like, so blurry, but Misery by Stephen King. We are reading this for book club, I think, for next month, but I just wanted to, like, get the audiobook done, so I had read it. This is a wild time. Like, it is actually horrifying. So our main character is, I feel like his name is Steven. No, Paul. Paul Sheldon is kidnapped by Annie Wilkes, who apparently Kathy Bates plays in the movie. I need to see it. So she crazy. She is like an angel of death. She's a nurse and she like has murdered people. So she like kidnaps him and forces him to write his like a revised story to like this series that he has written about Misery. And then she does horrifying things to him while he's there and like truly psychotic. Yeah. So I think what's horrifying is that like this could happen, right? Like, I feel like ghost stories and hauntings, like they're like kind of like jump scare creepy, but like there are psychotic people out there. So I think that made it even creepier. I gave it 4 stars. I mean, it could probably be 5. It was good. It was messy. Then I listened to Halloween Party. This is a Hercule Poirot. I've tried listening to this before and DNF'd it, and it just, I listened to it while I was like setting up my porch for fall. Just, someone's murdered, Hercule Poirot solves it. I don't feel like there was a big twist. I honestly don't even remember who killed the girl. So we're giving it 3 stars. I think that if I physically read it, I would enjoy it more, but between like the thick accent and just being a little bit distracted, like I am sorry, Agatha Christie. I wasn't giving your book enough attention. And then I finished the Throne of Glass series. So Kingdom of Ash, this big ass book. It's like 1,000 pages. This was good. I feel like I concluded the series well. It was really exciting to see all of our story threads come together. I will say that after reading like Empire of Storms, this is a little bit of a letdown just because Empire of Storms was truly amazing. I loved it. I loved the twists. I loved the characters and the character arcs. This book just had a lot of battle. Like, people are just dying left and right. And, like, I get that needed to happen, but, like, I don't need it to happen for, like, 20 chapters. Do you know what I mean? So it also felt just a little too easy at the end. There was, like, less sacrifice than I thought there was going to be. So, like, everybody died, but, like, not the important people. Like, all the important people lived, which, I don't know, sometimes it feels like you need a little skin in the game. But, yeah, it was good. The series was good. I would definitely say that I liked Throne of Glass far and above ACOTAR. Like, Throne of Glass felt like it had, like, great characters, an arc, and where it was going. I feel like I would have liked more, the healer, whatever her name, Irene? Is that Irene? I would like to see more of, like, her storyline, because it felt like that was going to be bigger, and then it wasn't necessarily as big as I thought it was going to be at the end. But yeah, lots of characters that could have gotten more airtime, and I feel like we just got, like, battle instead. So yeah, I would recommend this over ACOTAR. ACOTAR just feels to me like they have wings and men. And I know that there's lore in there too. I was very distracted by all the sex. So I don't know. If you like smut, ACOTAR's great. It just like wasn't, I don't feel like it had enough plot to make the smut make as much sense. I don't know. These are just judgmental ramblings, in case you were wondering. Then I listened to Finley Donovan Rolls the Dice. I need to remember to not read another one of these, okay? I don't like Finley Donovan. She's dumb. And the shit that happens to her is so annoying. So I feel like the first one was delightful. The second one was meh. The third one I actually liked quite a bit again, and which is why I picked up the fourth one. And the fourth one was like, stop writing these books. We're done with her. She is stupid. So this is what I wrote after I read it. I need to be done with Finley. These stories make less and less sense, and the characters are way more annoying. Bye. So please help me remember that I do not want to read the fifth one, because I'm sure there will be one. It's just so, like, you can only run from the law so much. Like, you cannot get away with this many murders. You just can't. It doesn't make any sense. Especially when you're a bumbling idiot. If you are super smart, I get it. When you're a bumbling idiot who's sleeping with a cop, doesn't make sense. Doesn't. Then I listened to What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I was on a walk in nature as I was listening to this. It is like 4 hours long, and I listened to it at 2 speed. So it was good. Just very much like vibes, very ominous. I feel like at the end I kind of figured out like what was happening, but it just was like creepy. So very much freaked out when I was walking and already like a little bit scared, and a white-tailed deer like jumped in directly in front of me, and I did like a body cross and screamed. And then I was super jumpy the rest of the walk. So that's just me and nature, especially because there's like creepy nature in this book. So there's that. So I gave that 3 stars. It was good, but I'm not like a big short story person. Yeah. So I don't know. There's another one. So that was What Moves the Dead. I don't know if it's a sequel or if it's just another short story that has like similar vibes. It has a red cover. I forget what it's called. So I don't know if I will listen to that one or not, but I feel like T. Kingfisher I like some. Haven't really like loved any. So yeah, we'll see. Then I read Apprentice to the Villain. So this is by Hannah Nicole Maurer. I loved Assistant to the Villain, like 5 out of 5. It was just delightful and fun. This one I gave 4 stars to. It took me a while to get into it. I feel like I thought I remembered what happened in the first book, but then there were so many names, and like every character has like a name, a nickname, and another name that they're called. And it was really hard to sort them out. And I feel like as a reader, I do have responsibility to like know like what happened in the previous book, but I also feel like there's a responsibility that the author has to like reorient me to the story, and I think that was missing. I know that she's a very new author, and if there was another book in this series, I would read it, but I think that things were missed because I was just very confused about who everyone was and kind of like where we left off. And I think like a little bit of a synopsis at the beginning maybe would have helped, or like a little explanation as people came in. It also didn't help that it started with like flashbacks and like the night, and it was like, who's the night? Like, so that got a little bit more confused because it was like, I feel like this is one of my characters, but I don't know which one it is. So like trying to guess at that. We learned like 2 things, and we have like 1,000 more questions. So I am excited for like where this is going. It does feel like it has a clear direction. There is lore that we're getting like little pieces of. It just didn't hit like as perfectly as the first one. So the 1 star is just off for my disorientation. Otherwise, it was still delightful. There's a little bit too much like will they or won't they in here. So I'm hoping that she like really brings it home in the next few books, because like assistant to the villain was so good. Just absolutely so good. So yeah, I will give that one 4 stars. And then my last book of September was a Charles Martin book, and I have kind of a love-hate relationship with this guy too. I don't have the cover, but all of his covers are just like people holding hands in sunsets. So if you'd like to imagine that. So The Last Exchange by Charles Martin, I gave this one 4 stars. I actually did really like it. Because so he loves a white man that has oodles of cash, disposable income, that they just like vigilante justice all over people. And like sometimes I'm in the mood and sometimes I'm not. And it turns out that this time I was in the mood. So I gave it 4 stars. So our main character, I don't know anybody's names really. Well, Pockets is the one guy. He goes by Pockets. So our main character is a movie star, and she is divorced. Yeah, I think she's divorced at this point. And she had been on like fertility treatments and been trying to have kids for a long time. And she has a drug problem. So she is kidnapped and held by an anonymous figure who's trying to like get her clean. She's very much like, are you going to kill me? Like, what are you going to do? And he puts her like in her home and forces her to get clean while she has a surrogate who's pregnant with her baby that they're like trying to like get ransom money from her. And so trying to like figure out how she's going to like get the baby. She's willing to give anything up for this baby, but like the man who has kidnapped her is like trying to get vigilante justice. It's a lot. So there's lots of layers. It all comes together. There is like a big shock at the end that was like, okay, that actually does feel like it justifies a lot of things. So there's like flashbacks, not flash forwards, but like flashbacks to this woman and her bodyguard and their relationship and her husband's relationship and kind of like what has led up to this, because her bodyguard is in prison. And we don't know why until the end. So if that felt super rambly to you, it's because the plot feels like that, but then it suddenly comes together with a lot of clarity. Everything ties together and you're like, wow, okay, that was well done. But also, like, if someone told me that this was a real story, I'd be like, there's no way, right? Like, this would not happen in real life. So you do have to suspend your disbelief a little bit. So it feels like Charles Martin writes a little bit of like fantasy, you know? Maybe that's why I like it, because you have to just completely pretend you're in a different world. So yeah, I think that's his most recent book actually. So The Last Exchange, I think that's his newest one. And that was September reading. So I hope you enjoyed this ramble. Yeah, I don't even know how many books I read. My stomach. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15. Oh, felt like way less than that, but I think just because a lot of them were audiobooks. So 15 books, good month for reading. I feel very good to have finished Throne of Glass, and this book was a really good find, and this book was really good too. And Outlive, I feel like I will probably reference again, which is why I wanted to like own the physical copy of it. And we're going to discuss that at one of our book club meetings. I feel like it's like December or January. So that will be very interesting to discuss. This was good, not great. And yeah, see what happens this month. I have so many books that I would like to read. I'm just have not been in the mood. I've been very much more into television lately. Like, I feel like I'm getting caught up on series and just really enjoying it. So the reading has suffered a little bit. And I'm also working through a Stormlight Archives book, which is like 1,200 pages. So I feel like when that one's done, I'll feel like I'm getting more like movement in reading. I think I really need to power through and read that. I think I have 500 pages left, so pray for me. And I'll see you at the end of October.